All right, my friends, this concerns me a little bit. I'm going to show you these statements about pride and being humble and so forth. Now, people don't see me as being humble. They see me as being narcissistic, just a big bragger, bragging about this and bragging about that. And I understand why they see it that way, but I found that I could not make any forward motion without being abrasive like that, without being, in your face, sort of, which I ended up having to do. And it still didn't kick off very well. It was very, very pushed back against, and I expected that, and that's what I was hoping for. But then it just shut down because there was no ability to push back, so I got even worse. So that made me look even worse. Now I cannot be humble. I cannot be humble and ever get this message apart. What does humble mean? Does it mean you go sit in a corner and you don't say anything? I don't think that's necessarily the definition of being humble. But I don't know. It worries me, pride and being humble. It says you're going to get wisdom, but don't sin anymore through pride or ungodliness or not being humble. Now, if this message is going to get out, I have to be abrasive. And the only way to be abrasive is to be what you would consider not humble. I'm just going to be in their face. And I've done that, and it still does not get any response. I don't know how to get a response. So let's just go through this together. Take it for what it's worth. I found I cannot push this on anybody, and it's really not my obligation to push it on anybody. It's my obligation to show it. That's what I always said. These are for you to see and for others as a test. That was my message. And if you don't believe that, good for you. So I'm showing, believe or don't believe, free will is in your hands. All right, we're going to be talking about Enoch again, and there is a point right where we're at right now that talks about humility and arrogance and all that kind of stuff, which people see me as not being humble and being arrogant and being, braggadocio and all that stuff. But the reason I am doing that is because I could get no response by being humble, by being reserved, by being quiet. That doesn't do anything for you. No matter what evidence you have, unless you can rattle those trees, you will not be heard. This is what I'm trying to avoid, and I'm trying to avoid it for everybody, not just me. I'm just a piece of the puzzle. I don't know why, because I am probably one of the least qualified human beings on earth to be selected to do this, because I did a lot of bad things. And I'm terribly, terribly remorseful about that, but I want to avoid this. And I'm starting to think I understand now what all of this is about. Jesus Christ came here to purchase the good humans that knew how to react and how to understand in life and to learn, to be compassionate and respectful and all of those kind of things. Are very difficult in the world that we live in. It's very hard not to become bitter once you learn reality. And reality is so dismissed by the ones we trusted to present reality. This is what I'm sure offends God. And Jesus came to say, look, I can save you guys, but here's what you got to do. And otherwise, I'm starting to think now the earth was seeded with life to become edible. And that once you die and you fall into this realm, this is what happens. Maybe. I don't know. I don't know anymore. I can't dismiss this. I can't say, oh, this is silly. Look at all these snakes and things and monsters and giants and dragons and all kinds of things eating what was put here on earth to grow. Is that possible? I don't know. But I can't dismiss that. But if it is possible, and Jesus Christ said, follow me, and this is not going to happen to you, I'm going to follow Jesus Christ. And as far as I can determine, everything that he was advertised as being appears to be pretty well validated, in my opinion. And that's just my opinion. And like I say, I'm nothing special. All I can do is just show you what I have found. If you want to accept it, accept it. If you don't, well, that's good for you. It's in order for me to do what I have to do, I have to show this stuff. If I don't show it, I did not do what I'm supposed to do. I'm showing it. You want to see it? You see it. You don't see it. You don't see it. And it says exactly what it says. It says some will see and never will see. And there's some unbelievable quotes that just fit absolutely flawlessly into the research. But you got to look. You got to seek. You don't seek, you're never going to find. You're never going to find, you will not ascend. And that could very easily be your destiny. Okay, my friends, as always, another shocker du jour, only it's starting to get on the deep end of the pool here in this very serious side. Once you get past the shock of what we see around us, and it's hard to miss. Now, everybody's heard about hell, and they show it as a place of torment and monsters eating people and all kinds of crazy things. Well, they said that this was all written to scare kids to being good. Well, it didn't work. And it just made things sound crazy, really. But once you actually can see the evidence that supports these crazy, crazy claims, then you have to take it in a different light. Now, I look at everything from every angle you can look at it, and some will make sense and some will be just nonsense. I'm looking at this now, hell, as a very likely possibility. And I base that on just what's happening to people, and to just think about the animals, the lives of the animals that have been slaughtered for food and so forth. Could that be the purpose of humanity? To be here to become somebody's lunch? I don't know. And why would Jesus Christ come here and say, look, I'm going to buy you? And that's what I see. He bought us with his crucifixion, his death, his suffering. I find a hard time putting all these pieces together, but I'm trying. But I do think there's a good and a bad can come from this. And we need to transition into white light. The dark is the matter. The white has no mass. It's just spirit. The dark part of the particles that make up everything are the mass, and we are that mass right now. Coated with the white particles they coat all of the atoms, are coated around their core with white particles that will leave. Because their energy cannot be, it can't be destroyed. It can only be dissipated. You cannot destroy energy. Once it happens, it happens. And then it just spreads out. But the mass will remain. That's the dark matter. We want to ascend into the light. And every single, even Jesus said, where did you come from? Tell them we came from the light. We are the children of the light. Where the light came about and manifested itself of its own accord. Nobody had to do anything. It just started glowing. And to me, that's the sun. So anyway, let's, there's a lot to think about now. And everybody says, oh no, just read this book, just read that book, just read this book, just read that book. No, I read all the books. And, I don't read every single word. So they say, oh, the guy just cherry picks what he wants. No, I don't. I look to see the things that are outstanding that make sense. And if they're outstanding and they're just nonsense, then I don't see that book as being totally valid. And the craziest thing is, the craziest books I see as being the most valid. And I don't think that's just because I'm crazy. I think that's because the crazy books are not crazy. And that is crazy. Look at this. I just turned around to close this little piece up, and I see these are the flashes I get. Paleontologists shaken. Organic molecules found in 66 million year old dinosaur bones. First of all, they got to start looking at the stuff I presented. These things, that's fine. They could very well be true. But dinosaur bones were little scraps, basically. They were the parasites that lived on the big creatures. And that's what they found. That's a big deal to them. That's good. What about these new species and so forth that I found? And everybody's found them. It's not just me. Once that people start looking, they find them. Giant hair follicles that from something 2 inches wide. All of this stuff I have is validated now, and it does point to a whole different interpretation of our ancient past. And that's why we have to study Enoch. And, if you can get out of this one way or the other, you're going to die. One way, I don't see too many people that just never died. Jesus Christ is one of them. So, if you want to go with him, I suggest you pay attention to what they had to say before it was crushed and suppressed like Enoch. So we're going to go back to Enoch and see what he does have to say. It's spectacular, no question about it. It is stunning, no question. It is a shocker du jour of a lifetime, no question. If it's true, you better study it, you better understand it. That's all I can say. Then I'm out of here. All I ever wanted to do was start the conversation, and it wasn't allowed. I never even showed my face. I didn't want to get involved. I just wanted to see what people would say, presented with evidence, and the evidence was pushed back at and never even allowed. Same thing happened to Valkowski. And virtually everybody that's come up with an alternative, Mary Schweitzer, same thing. She was on 60 Minutes showing she had found soft tissue in these dinosaur bones, which is dinosaurs, like I say, they were the ticks and the little parasites that lived on the big creatures. And when the big creatures died, they had to go find something else to do. And they started eating all kinds of things, and they looked like they were big, but they really weren't big. Compared to Typhon, come on. Compared to the things I show, Quetzalcoatl, Typhon, even my giants I have here with a hair follicle this big. A hair follicle that big, that creature would be so big it would eat a Tyrannosaurus Rex. Probably, 2-3 minutes. It'd be like a shrimp. All right, so like I said, all I'm doing is I'm just going to show you what is truly real. I showed you the hair follicle. That's 2 inches of a hair follicle. That's 2 inches big. That's a good sized creature. I'm going to close that one up. Then I'm going to show you, we looked at this. This is not good looking if it's true. This is the finger tip that's on, well, it's not on my property anymore. I sold this piece of property, and then I thought it was still on my property. It's not. It's just like 5 feet off. And that's the fingernail. And this is the bumper pad between bones. That's the artery and vein. And I broke this piece off, and it still has the fingerprints on it. So the evidence is here. See that? That's what's called grip skin. It popped right off like that when I hit it with a hammer. It's just like a scab. I have it here. The underside of this is just like, well, I suppose I should show you. Hold on. All right, the fingernail was right up here. And I could see that crease. That's the only place I could see that I could crack. So I whacked it with the hammer, and this piece popped right off just like this because it's skin. It came off just like that. That didn't fracture like fracture. It just popped off because it's this thick skin. That's skin. And I had this DNA tested. Once I got the skin off, down in there it's just flush with blood. Fingertips are just saturated with blood. And this is so perfect, the sweat pores are still very, very clear. When I look at them in a microscope, I can see them. And the crazy thing was, I had them cleaned off with water one day, and I'm looking at it in a microscope, and right in the center of the sweat pore went, blip, a little squirt of water came up. I'm not kidding you. I was like, what the hell? It popped right from this, because I was trying to look at this side and where it comes through the other side to the bottom. It's hard to see. But this just like this skin. That's all it was skin. And this was DNA tested, human, excellent quality, because once you get down there, you got solid blood. I mean, really good blood. You know, I'm just starting to get into Enoch, and it seems like he was in touch with God. God took him, it is said in the ancient text, when he was 365 years old, and he went with God. Now, he was talking about giants 2.5 miles tall, and he was talking about the angels coming to earth and so forth. Now, I don't disagree with that at all, but what about the earth, what the earth is made of? This is basically, these mountains are nothing but membranes. Every layer here, and all these colorizations, are the reason is it's a different type of tissue. Every tissue has a different type of biological material that has different colors. And those colors are dictated by transition metals in the blood. Where are you? Here. These, when they stabilized, that particular area had to be covered with a lot of blood, which is the blood has all this chemistry in it, and hearts and lungs and so forth, very, very colorful because of the blood. These are all blood metals. All right, they flow in aqueous solutions. They flow through your body. They're ions. They attach. All of these molecules can attach to that core. And they flow through your body, and give me some of that, I'll take 2 of those, you take 3 of these, and they come back empty, and they come back and pick up some more. That's how your body feeds itself, is with these things running down through your intestines and so forth, grabbing up all these broken down particles that now have charges. All right, so they attach with their ion charges because of enzymes. This gets very, very deep. You have to understand everything, otherwise you just don't understand anything. How did this happen? Somebody explain that to me in geology. Oh, well, no, it doesn't cover it. Each one of those is a biological layer, just like when I showed you this thing here. Same thing, only it didn't harden up in the other conditions that basin did. That basically was like a basin. I am also in the Connecticut basin, and what happens is, like, there was little boiling areas. They boiled all the material was in that area, boiled into a soup, and then it found somebody to stabilize with. Now, other areas they just boiled into a soup, and they weren't in blood. If you were in blood in a basin and boiled into a soup, all the different layers would pick up a different color because they want to stabilize with a different type of metal, a different type of polar bond. These are all dipoles, and they create ions. And then the ions are looking for something to attach to it, which is going to be a transition metal, if they can get it. Because these are the ones that attach and stabilize very nicely. So when you see the bright colors, you know you got a lot of transmission, a lot of blood. All right, like I said, you do have to do a little research to understand this. This is how tendons work. You have your bone, and then you have this little area here, which is the gluey. It's literally glue, and it glues to the tendon, and then the tendon works its way into the muscle. So bone, glue, tendon, muscle. Well, can I show that? Yes, I can. Because here's mine. There's your bone, glue, tendon, muscle. Now, I'm not showing the bone in this one up here, but this is the same picture. So the bone would be here. So you got bone. This is glue. It literally is glue. This whole area right here is glue. And it glues to the tendon, to the muscle, and the muscle breaks off out here. It's originally this is just barely moves, tendon. Muscle is a lot more, movement. And when you get into the pure sarcomeres, which are almost no mineralization like this is almost tendon. And it comes down to transitions, abrupt transitions. And I can show that too here. I think I have another shot of this same. Yeah, look here. This is the same one again, only close up. There's blood flowing down here to service the muscle, not the tendons. Tendon's brown. It doesn't want blood because it can only do this. And it's just a rubber band. That's basically all it is. Now here's the different story. This pinches. You see that? That's an abrupt transition right there. It comes out here between, this is the transition between tendon and muscle. And it's just an abrupt, it just stops. Now here it's very mineralized to several different points. There's one. I think I counted 3 abrupt transitions. And then you end up at the muscle and it just falls apart basically. Muscle is in between tendons. And tendons have a certain distance that they're mineralized, and then you go into sarcomeres, which are just the little muscle blocks that can pull in and out. And that's how it's built. Okay, this shows a good tendon investment. You see right here, you see how this curls up around here, this curves around, and you have this and that, and it's a abrupt transition here, an abrupt transition here, and then you go into the muscle. This is a tendon. This tendon stretches out this way, and it can pivot. And that's why you have to have slurpees in between here so they can slide. If you're going to turn this way or that way, they have to be able to move amongst themselves, those little straps. And they have to be tough. Now, I'm going to show you how you can see something that's just, you cannot deny it. First of all, this is the pivot point. That's the secured anchor point. So let's get right down and look at that. That's right the center where it anchors, right in this area. That's exactly it. Right there. And I have other ones here that are in muscle. Is basically the same thing. That's the anchor for this one. Right there. And then it sticks out this way and was going to latch to another piece of meat. But that's the type of anchor they have. You got to get it in the right light to see it. You see how everything is fairly smooth around here, but the anchor is all that one little spot. Basically, that's the spot. Now, so it comes out and it can twist this way and that way. Now let's look from a distance again. Here's the first abrupt transition. See it? Follow that around. So now let's get down close and look at that. We're going to be looking for slurpees. All right, and you don't see much. Yeah, maybe a little tiny one here, that little wrinkle. All right, so the first abrupt transition's here. And then you have some more really tough stuff. This stuff just doesn't even move. I mean, it's just tough as can be. And that spot is like an anchor. Well, it is an anchor. Now, You don't see any Slurpees, but look down here. This is what they call Slurpees. So you got abrupt transition, and then down into the muscle, which has the Slurpees. That way there, these can pull a little bit this way, they can slide this way and that way amongst themselves, and no penetration. And they are slippery as can be. This is what they call synovial fluids. It's one of the most slippery, well, as far as I know, it's the most slippery there is. Synovial joints in humans. Just unbelievable low coefficient of friction. It's hundreds of times slipperier than Teflon on Teflon. And this went out somewhere to a muscle and eroded away. I'm showing what's real. And the other ones, the membranes, have the same thing. They have that Slurpee in between. And that gives them tight junctions. That's all washed out of there and left these little surrounding bits here that were, if you look at a membrane, and they call them the tight junctions, and there's like 3 layers of junctions. There's the top one, and right here is loaded with enzymes. Your membranes keep stuff out of you, or they break down food and so forth. It's right on that layer is a lot of work being done. And it has to be sealed up. You can't let things come in and attack you through that layer. That's your protective membrane layer. A membrane means you stay out and you stay in. I'll regulate who comes in and out. And they regulated it through these holes. And this was 6 feet thick, this membrane. That's the lower, that's the upper layer. That's what membranes are made of. Upper layer, lower layer. And these tubes running through to allow what it wants to allow in and keep out what it doesn't want to allow in. That's how big these creatures were. Now, did Enoch know how big the creatures were? Did he realize that Earth is literally made out of some kind of bodies of well, look at this. This is that membrane layer right there. You see that? There's that membrane layer. This would have been the surface of the skin. All right, now, the membrane right here, and then you have that layer of fluids. The waters must have been basically up to this layer here. And as it started to recede, they started making stairways down to where the boats would have been anchored. You see that? And where does it go from there? Nowhere. There's nowhere to go. It goes straight down 500 feet. So until the water started receding, they were just here. That's about as far as I can determine. They were living in here. You don't live under there for no reason. And out here, they could probably fish and, I don't know, do whatever they had to do just to stay alive. And they had little dwelling-ish things in here. Almost impossible to get to this. So things were way different. Now, did Enoch even know this? I don't know. He must have. But he was talking about giants being 2.5 miles tall. That's not a big deal. Typhon in the desert is 1,100 miles long. He's way over 1,000 miles long. So this is same thing with Quetzalcoatl. Scorpzilla is 3,700 miles long. That's just what it is, my friends. Where they came from, I do not know. Why they got here and how they could have been that big, I don't know. Were they supposed to be living off the planet? Obviously, it had to be somewhere other than here. Much too big and too many of them. They literally just basically cover the Earth. Now, even what's under them. But this is the kind of gigantic biology we're dealing with. And so it's very, very rare that a person can sit back and say, let me think about this. Because if you don't stop, you're never going to learn. You're never, ever going to understand this. You have to stop your mind and say, what am I seeing here? Is this guy crazy? And then you make up your own determination. A lot of people think I'm crazy. I don't care. It matters not a bit to me what you think. But it does matter to me if you don't think. Then, but it really doesn't matter to me that either, to be honest with you. It's presentation to you, and then it's up to you. It's up to you after that. Anyway, thank you all. I guess I'm going to probably leave it at that for today. Although I did want to get back into Enoch, and that's such a deep subject, I think maybe I should leave that for the next video. Because it's just so deep. Well, just give me one more minute. Okay, my friends. Paleontology shaken. They found organic matter, which is collagen, and oh boy, they're really surprised. This has been going on forever. They just haven't paid attention. Mary Schweitzer showed this, it was like 2008 or 9, somewhere around here, on 60 Minutes on TV. They destroyed her for it. And this destroyed me for my evidence too. But now they're starting to pay attention. They can't hide forever. You can't hide forever from this. So let's see what they have to say, and I'll show you about collagen and keratins. So, right, they're two different separate things. The collagen is the floppy stuff. The keratin is the tight, heavy connective tissue. We'll go into it right now. Okay, so now they're finding collagen. Well, that was my whole paper was written on fascia facilitated fossilization. Well, collagen is fascia. Here it is. I'll let my friend Chat tell you about it.
Yes, collagen is a major component of fascia. Fascia is a connective tissue structure that surrounds and supports muscles, bones, and organs throughout the body. It is made primarily of collagen fibers, which provide strength, flexibility, and structure. Collagen helps fascia maintain its integrity and allows it to support the body's various tissues while also allowing for movement and flexibility. There are different types of collagen in fascia, with type 1 collagen being the most abundant and giving the fascia its tensile strength. The arrangement of collagen fibers in fascia can vary, contributing to different types of fascia, such as superficial or deep fascia, with varying degrees of flexibility and rigidity, depending on the body area they serve.
When did Mary Schweitzer discover soft tissue fossils called keratin in dinosaur bones? All right, here it is right here.
Mary Schweitzer, a paleontologist, discovered soft tissue fossils, including structures resembling keratin, in dinosaur bones in 2005. She made this groundbreaking discovery while studying the bones of a Tyrannosaurus rex that had been excavated in Montana. Using advanced techniques, Schweitzer found what appeared to be preserved blood vessels, cells, and even structures similar to keratin, the protein found in hair and feathers. This was a significant and controversial find, as it was previously believed that soft tissues could not survive for millions of years. The discovery opened up new possibilities for studying ancient organisms.
And it basically destroyed her career. She was on 60 Minutes showing them this gooey, gummy stuff, exactly the same stuff I showed you, which is the keratin, the keratins and keratins that are the stretchy things in your body tissues, in all creatures' body tissues, bones included. And she showed this, and it was pushed back against. That's 20 years ago. See, this just came out today. Paleontology's shaken. Well, they should have been shaken for 20 years, but now they just say, well, we better jump in on this because it's getting too late to grab some of the fame here. They're finding these collagens. Well, yes, obviously. I have them saturated. They're everywhere. The research discovered collagen in fossilized bones could provide new insights into dinosaurs. Well, dinosaurs were scraps compared to the stuff I've been showing. Now, they go on and on about they're using advanced microscope mass spectrometry and all this stuff to detect remnants of collagen in the hip bone of a epithet or whatever, duck-billed dinosaur. Well, discovery has settled a long-standing debate has persisted for over 30 years. No, it hasn't. It was 25 years ago, Mary Schweitzer put an end to that whole deal. The study published in the journal used several techniques, including protein sequencing, to detect and characterize bone collagen in this fossil chunk of bone. Fossil is exceptionally well preserved. That's not exceptionally well preserved, that's scraps. My stuff is this is exceptionally well preserved. That's a foot from I don't know what. There's a lung from something that is a human being because it's been DNA tested, and there's no question about that. Spectacular preservation. Caesar, my Augustus Caesar, my buddy, that's exceptional preservation for a goose. So they're the cutting edge. They did all this stuff, really top end stuff they did out there. Fossil exceptionally well preserved, and now they give it some kind of other name now. So the professor said that these research shows beyond doubt organic biomolecules such as proteins, collagens appear to be present in some fossils. Our results have far-reaching implications. First, they refutes the hypothesis any organics found in fossils must result from contamination. Well, that's been refuted for a very long time. Secondly, it suggests that cross-polarized light microscopy images of fossil bones collected for a century should be revisited. Absolutely. These images may reveal intact patches of bone collagen. That's not important. Let's see the creatures. I have actual, hair follicles from something that was a 2-inch wide hair follicle. I have bones from who knows what. I have gigantic things, absolutely enormous things. Our human 3-foot-long fingertip with the fingernail and the fingerprint still intact, showing all this stuff. And it's now, at least now, they've come around to saying we got to really start looking at this. Lastly, the findings inform the intriguing mystery of how these proteins have managed to persist in fossils for so long. They last virtually forever. See, collaboration across disciplines. This is what we need. We need people that know biology and chemistry, physiology, anatomy, everything right across the board. And then the ancient text to talk about these things. They're going on how the study brought together experts from multidisciplines. Well, hopefully it's time. Now, I have things here that they're absolutely 100% organic, no question whatsoever. None, zero. And they are spectacular. And they are literally everywhere around the world. People are finding these things dozens and dozens of times a day. I'm getting people sending me, you got to look at this, you got to look at that, you got to see this. Well, and most of them are very spectacular, that's true. But they have never been allowed to be seen before. Now that's finally changed. Thank God. Okay, if you've been around here at all, you've seen all the giant body parts and the giant hair follicles and the giant fingers and feet and everything else. And also in space, comet or meteorite or asteroid Bennu is right there. It's a heart. And they went and took a sample of that heart and brought it back. And this is a heart here on Earth. That's the muscle. And they came back with a chunk of muscle exactly the same as this. Right there. And these the phosphate layers are the phospholipid membranes, and that is the muscle sarcomeres in between the membranes. Membrane, sarcomeres. Membrane, sarcomeres. They just layer, layer, layer. And that's a heart muscle because it came back from a heart. And that is the heart. Those are the heart valves. You see that big one there? And then that's exactly identical to what a heart is. Right here. And this is psyche. That thing there is 140 miles across, and that's a heart. There's just no question about this. And they came back with the heart muscle. So what do we have right now? We have false teachers. We have people that if they can't understand this, they have no business being in that business. They shouldn't be doing it. And I have seen that no matter what you present, nothing will take them away from their position that there is no God, there's no Jesus Christ, all that stuff is crazy, and here's where they're going to be right there. That's where they're going to be right there as far as I'm concerned. Now, we're going to be talking about the book of Enoch again. And, I'm going to go through this, but this is going to take a long time. This is only 5 minutes, 6 minutes into this thing. And I'm already probably an hour going through it, trying to understand every little bit. And I worry about this pride and being humble and so forth. People don't see me as being humble and I'm too arrogant and all that stuff. Well, if that's the way they want to take it, I suppose that's the way they're going to take it. But anyway, it says, it gets deep, 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 and then deeper. There is no undeep part. So we're going to go through this. And if this is true, which I don't see any reason to dispute this now, unless you can find something. The things that we all thought were just insane, crazy, and they are insane and crazy, appear to be true. And if what the purpose of life is, I don't know. Why would God put us here? To find out good creatures to go and seed good worlds, to be good caretakers, maybe, or maybe just to put us here as a source of nourishment for who knows what. I mean, think of how we treat animals. To us, they're just food and they're just other things. And I mean, some of them just absolutely horrifying the way they're treated. And I was one of those horrifiers in my younger life, and I feel terrible about it. I really didn't consider animals as like, I just feel horrible about this. Some of the things I did, I can't imagine what I did. I just can't imagine it. So, I'm hoping I will be forgiven, but I guess that's up to Jesus Christ, God, whoever is going to be judging me. But I'm starting to think that I will be judged. And I'm hoping this is true, that if you turn around and you are extremely remorseful and you search and then hopefully you find, I'm hoping I'll be forgiven. I was brought up wrong. I was brought up in a different world. I was brought up not understanding at all. And it was just my neighborhood was like that. We were just crazy people, absolutely crazy. And the crazier you were, the more respected you were. And I was about as crazy as you could get. And I don't think I was very well respected, but I think they just thought I was insane, which I was. But it just seemed to be, you get caught up in things, and now these people are caught up in wars and just terrible, terrible things on earth. And how this will all end, I do not know. I do not know. But I am remorseful, I'm sorry. And if I appear arrogant and narcissistic and all that, well, you can look at me any way you want. I have to get this message out, and if you don't take the message, that is totally up to you. But I'm thinking strongly that the things that I had always thought had to be just absolutely ridiculous. Anybody could believe it was just a nutcase. And now I realize that's just not the facts. That's not a fact. The people that didn't investigate it, didn't look into it, just laughed and it just fluffed right off the surface like it wasn't even there. And that's just exactly what's happening now. So we're going to read Enoch and see if we can come up with some understanding of what the future is going to be. Because we're all facing it. There's not a single one of you right now that's breathing oxygen that will breathe that oxygen forever. What happens to you then? And Jesus Christ talks about it. When you were two, you became one. When you become one, what will you do? All these kind of things about actually the physics of dying. He talks about it, how your dark will leave the light will ascend, the dark will go dark into the darkness. And that's exactly what we are, the children of the light. All these things they said. Oh, you want to be the bright, bright light. If you are the matter, then you're in trouble, because then that's what's getting edible. that's the stuff that's edible. And you want to remove yourself from that by being above that. You can't get away from it until you understand. That's how I'm taking this right now. And again, I am not the last authority on this. I'm just a little bitty piece of the puzzle. And for some reason, I got some messages, said go look in the woods. I looked. These things are for you to see. Others are a test. Nobody would take the test. I needed something spectacular, and I heard right from behind my back, go look in Morocco. And that's when I found a giant dragon. And after that, and that was 10 years ago, and people started to pick up a little bit of piece at a time, and it's starting to grow. And hopefully we're going to be able to save some people that had no chance of being saved under the things that they talk about here. If you don't understand, you won't be saved. You're just not going to be saved. If you don't seek, you're done. And then when you do seek, don't stop. These are the recorded words of Jesus buried in the ground just after he died. And here's what it says. Jesus said, those who seek should not stop seeking until they find. So if you don't seek, you're done anyway. So if you seek, don't stop. When you find, you will be disturbed. And when you're disturbed, you will marvel and will reign over all. So there's something in there that says, my Father has millions or billions or zillions or, of mansions, which I take as maybe even solar systems. Somebody's got to run them. And I think that's what he's looking for, is people that can rise up to the understanding of what Jesus really wants us to do, and peace and compassion and brotherhood and all that stuff, which is just totally gone now. Well, I always say that. That's just not true. There are some wonderful, wonderful people, and those are the people that I hope to see, and I'm hoping I'll be one of them. I was not one of them, but I'm hoping to be there. So this is a really arduous journey, I'm telling you right now. When you start to realize what was my life like, what is my life now, what will my life be like in the future. Something's going to happen to you. Everything I have found says 100% you're going to go this way or that way or somewhere. Where that is, I don't know. But I do know Jesus Christ said so many things that I cannot dismiss. I cannot dismiss him. Everything that was hidden will be found. There's nothing in front of your face. Look, it's right up front here. Know what's in front of your face. Nothing is hidden. It will not be disclosed. Nothing hidden will be revealed. Everything that was buried will be unburied. It will be raised. And he says, we are the light. We are the children of the light. Jesus said, if they say to you, where have you come from? Say to them, we have come from the light. We are light. The place where light came into being of its own steps and appeared in its own image. If they say to you, is it you? Say, we are its children. We are the chosen of the living Father. There's a lot of light going on here. But when you get chosen, it comes with obligations. So I'm going to wrap it up now. Start thinking about what you think about Enoch and what his message might have been, and what did Enoch know? Did he know that there was just giant body parts floating out in space, or was this before the battles in the heavens? Which could have very well be. Maybe they just weren't there before. But the earth itself, as far as I'm concerned, in my mind, there is no question the earth itself, 100%, is a biological organism. Whether it started out as one complete biological organism called Gaia, I don't know. But I have found nothing, zero, not a single thing that didn't originate from biology, even in space. And that includes the planets, the moon, everything, all biological. There's maybe a half a dozen minds on planet Earth that can accept that. It's just too much for the average mind to even start to consider. And that's when you get lost, because you can't, things bounce, and you don't even hear them. And that's, I think, what the bad guys are hoping, is you just won't listen. And you'll just take what they say from places like Yale and all that stuff. Don't believe in God, forget all that stuff. We're the ones that tell you what you have to say to be smart, and pay us a bunch of money, we'll give you a piece of paper to make you smart. No, it doesn't. That piece of paper will burn. And it's probably going to be in your hand while it's burning. All right, I love you all. We're going to get back into Enoch, and we're just going to read it. And we're just going to read it and see if we can make any sense of it. It's so spectacular that it wasn't allowed to be seen by humanity. Well, that's ended. We're going to look into the things that they have suppressed from us, and why did they suppress them. All right, love you all. Bye.